This is week 5 of my game development. Sometimes when looking for inspiration, it is better to go outside and walk. And today I went to Ginza Art Aquarium Museum. It may sound strange to go to a place like that, but let me explain. Mine works in many different ways. When looking at art and getting exposed to different things enrich your game ideas. This museum was quite a surprise to me, and I got some ideas for the art and level design. This museum, even though it's small, is worth to visit. So if you are in Ginza in Tokyo, I recommend you to take a visit, but if not, you can watch most of it later. Hopefully next week I will be able to share some of the new art and design of this game. Originally I was planning to release this game this weekend, but I only have one level and 3 different enemies. And with all the new ideas, I think it would be better to delay it and see how much better it will get with all the new ideas. So for now, let me show you what have changed since last week, and after that I will show more about the museum after the intro. Welcome back! If you are new to the channel, I make games, and you can download many of my games from the link in the description below. Change number 1. Button behavior. How many ways can you use a button in your game? A button usually have 2 main states, push and when it is not push. On top of that, if you add time into consideration, you can create events, like when it is push or on-click event, when holding it down and when releasing it. So 4 major states: not push, on push, when holding it down, and when releasing it. Usually action happens when the player generates the on push down event, and that's how I usually make my controllers, but there is much more you can do with other events. In Street Fighter, for example, you have 6 main buttons, 3 for punches and 3 for kicks. Each one show a different strength, giving complexity to the game. I wanted to provide some of that complexity, but I do not want to add so many buttons in my game. It makes the game less accessible. If you have a 6 frontal button controls, it's fine, but if it's not that easy, if you only have 4. So I can reduce those 4 by using only weak and strong punches or kicks, but I can reduce those to 2 if I consider the time the player holds the button down to decide if it is strong or weak punch. So if you press the button for a short period of time, it is a light punch. If you keep the button down for more than 1 frame or a few frames, I can change it to a strong punch. It is quite simple to add it once you think about it. Initially I was thinking to add more buttons, but now I use just 1 for kicks and 1 for punches, and depending on how long you keep the key or button down, you can decide which attack to do. So I created an upgraded input method to take into account time and make the action happen when the button is released and not when the button is pushed down. So you can see some numbers moving below my character, and that is the time I hold down the button for punch or kick. This makes it easier for any player to attack your opponents, reducing the number of buttons to 2, and if you are very skillful you can do strong attacks with very little time wasted. But still, if you are not as good, you can still do it. So buttons took me a few days to research and implement. Second, reward gameplay. I added this reward screen where you can choose what to improve. Each time you will offer something randomly, and there are at this moment 14 different rewards that affect stats, color, move, and other features of your hero. For example, you can pick up free flow punches and kicks that will allow your hero to move forward quickly to kick or punch enemies. The distance travel will depend on your upgrade level, so it will become easier to hit enemies that are farther than your usual attack. I may add a few more rewards, since any new move will be acquired through this screen, so every run will be a little bit different. Number 3. Animation frame editor. This is something that you will not play with, but I made an animation frame editor before for this game, but I made very critical mistakes during the development that made my work slower. The first thing is that without knowing, I used the wrong exporter and importer for animations. Somehow I picked a very old version, and because of that I had to write about 500 lines of code to address so many corner cases while saving and loading my data. It was so frustrating because I couldn't understand why my standard exported game gave me so many strange errors. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked why this data contract serializer is not working, and the answer kicked me in the head in more ways than I expected. It was because I was not using a data contract serializer. I wasted almost 4 days trying to fix that, and I was using the wrong exporter. So I deleted the whole thing and chose my standard library, and boom, it worked on the first try without any single change. Because of that, I was able to also enable global areas. I mean, I have hit, blocking, and attack areas per frame, but I had to set up them per animation. Sometimes I can reuse the same frame for another animation, so I had to set up the same information in other frames. That was a very tedious process. So finally, migrated the code to use global areas if enabled, and if disabled I can use local areas for that sprite. So now I can reuse all the areas across the same character, saving me a lot of work, and also enable and fix many bugs in the editor. And that is for this week. Hopefully I can finish at least a few more characters, and I already have more interesting story and ways to gain more rewards in-game. For sure you will see more of that soon. Quite many changes since last week. What do you think? There are many games that implement this kind of controls for combos, but I have not seen these in side-scroller games like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to support my work, please click like and subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you do not miss my next update. Thank you so much for watching my journey. See you next week. And if you like what you see about the museum, I recommend you to buy a ticket and go there. It is worth it.